look for completely lost where. And then we have something. What is the changes I've made here? This is some crap. On the live stream this week, I did some coding on a real application that we use for the infrastructure of the show, doing some TDD, some proper committing, some CI, and some live deployment. It's just a very nice coding episode. I hope you enjoy it. But before we cut to that, I would like to thank today's sponsor, X-Team. If you've ever thought about having a freelance remote working career, working for like big brands and jumping across the world to different places and you know, that kind of thing, then you should really check out X-Team, because that's exactly what they do. They feed you with support from other developers, feed you with work with really interesting and strong brands, and they also have these cool developer houses that are spread across the world that you can jump to. It's a really interesting concept, and if remote working is something that you've been dreaming about doing, then definitely do check them out. As with all sponsors, you can find the link in the episode description. Check them out after the show. Thank you so much, X-Team. Now on to the show. Good Monday morning, everyone. Shendi Web, it's 4 p.m. in Egypt, nearly 3 p.m. I'm working from home today, waiting for a parcel. Love waiting for a parcel. It's the best. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Look at this thing that I'm in. See, like the little Twitter logo, Twitter name here, and like the sponsor here. And I want to make this dynamic with subscriber notifications. So I'm rebuilding the kind of like the production company web stack a little bit here. I'm trying to do it like properly with tests and stuff. The goal right now, working on this Twitch sub helpers, subscription helpers. So I want to subscribe to the Twitch, the events on Twitch, so that I can just listen to WebSocket and have just pull those events into this panel here. So whenever somebody subscribes, it should like jump in between sponsors and like a little thank you to people that subscribe. Of course, in the months that I haven't been working on this, Twitch had deprecated an endpoint. Let's see if I can bring you into where the hell I am in this thing. Oh, all right. So I'm gonna look for quickly lost where. And then we have something. The bug is in this one. Load refresh token. Where do I find that? I'm injecting a bunch of dependencies into this token store refresh token. So token store is in this one. Token store Mongo. Let's go to that. Yeah. So I found out that this thing here is undefined. So I have these Mongo databases that contains the state. And by state, let's see how I describe this. There's a little bit of a weird thing where a Twitch overlay on OBS, you can basically just pass in an URL, and it needs to be stateless. You can't really log in a Twitch overlay. So what you need to do is to have like this shared secret and paste that in as a query string into the Twitch overlay, into OBS, which is like the streaming software, and then you have to log in on the back end of the on the server. So it's basically you have a little server that manages OAuth logins and constantly keeps these refresh tokens. And that's what the state is, just holds an OAuth token for a really long time. And that's what I just use Mongo for, because, I don't know, I needed some robust, cheap software as a service data store, and I didn't want to use Firebase. So, should this work or not? Who knows? Bumpy, boom, boom, boom. Mongo, bongo, bingo, bango. Yeah, that's exactly my feelings around MongoDB right now. Very slow. Why are there Tyrion subscribed? Boom! 5 months pog. Poof! How cool is that? Been around since the beginning, pretty much. This is what things look like. So I want to create a test case when these load refresh tokens are empty. So like this this find one here will actually return like a null or something rather than find, and that means that this value fails. Let's have a look at the tests for this. Where do we have load refresh token? Find one will return document. Seems like I have created some kind of structure here in this test where I can assign what find one will return. I'm going to move all this down to a happy path case. Called given happy path. I kind of like, I tend to like doing this because usually like, I don't know, I tend to start out this way. And then, because that implies that there's gonna be a not so happy path after a while, which is life. Move into here. I'm gonna take this here, create a new one, and call it Stigosop says, asks if I'm using Mocha. No, I am not. This is jest. Describe block titles used multiple times in them. Oh, we call it happy path. Given sad path. There we go. Okay, so find one will return document. Let's just say null. Then we want the result. It coerces it. Will return null. Expect. Yeah, by the way, I'm trying to learn American keyboard layout, which is extremely painful. Our code is breaking, so no. Expect result to be null. Oh, good. Yeah, it's failing. Failing like we wanted to. Theo Guzu says a yes to the US layout. You'll thank yourself 100 times later on. I expected this to crash though. What is happening here? Let's isolate this test. Can I do like only here? So what is, if I do go a doc here? Yeah, cool. So this is the error that we were seeing before. I basically want to do something like this, I suppose. Dog or dog value. Can remove this here. Cool, unexpected focus test, so I will remove that. Cool, 0 failing tests, 16 passing. That means that I have now fixed that problem. So I'm gonna commit that. So yeah, I'm gonna write a fix case. Now we can't call it given sad path, that's stupid. Given that state doc does not exist yet. I'm just gonna call it this. Given it, we'll return null. Underscore func. Given disappointing path. Given I'm not upset but expected better of you path. Passive aggressive TDD. I love that. I love it so much. Okay, so another addition that I've made here is this silly thing here. It's Twitch. The Twitch API has been updated, and the Twitch version 3 API has been deprecated. So you need to go against the version 5 API, which is slightly less deprecated, but it's still not a new Twitch API. But I couldn't find this specific endpoint in new Twitch API, so screw you. But that means like I see if I have any tests for get channel ID, and I don't have any tests for this. All right, fine. I'll just commit this. What is the changes I made here? This is some crap. So I'm gonna commit that. Migrate channel ID to use B5 Twitch endpoint. Bleep. And we push that. npm run CI. See what is failing. And probably in some style test or something. Oh, it's actually a security vulnerability. So let's do an npm audit fix. Fix the vulnerability. Do the npm audit fix. Whip. And we push run CI again. Code style issues found in the bump files. Forgot to run prettier, that is correct. npm run style fix. Style fixes. And we run, whoops, let's run CI again. IsNDWeb asks, do some testers participate in writing unit tests and integration tests for projects that they didn't participate in? They didn't write the code. No, they don't. I mean, there might be some if they're insane, but that's not how unit tests and integration tests work. Unit tests and integration tests have to, in practice, be written while you're writing the code. Underscore func points out that usually unit tests come before code. Yeah. Otherwise, you will write tests that pass your existing code. You need a test to fail first to know that your test is accurate. This is a very, very good point, and it's one of the core tenets of test-driven development. It's very easy to write tests that doesn't work really and doesn't actually verify your code if you're writing them after the fact. Interesting discussion for sure. Anyway, it seems like everything my CI is passing here, so I will push it, and then you'll see here where the CI is working. Using Circle CI, our sponsor here, you can find. Wow, hello. Forgot to turn off my phone. Circle CI is a long-time sponsor of the show. Very sleek, very robust company. You can use them for private projects as well. Even the free tier, which I really like. And it's all Docker based. What? Some checks were not successful. What the? Oh no, I think that there's probably issues on the front end as well. Because I'm doing a monorepo here. So npm run CI. Do a monorepo. Another vulnerability, prototype pollution, handlebars. Why is handlebars in my project? Who knows? In a man dev. This will be silly. Oh, I love silly questions. But I will ask, how does unit tests help us? Excellent question. I must say that it took me quite a while to get what unit tests were good for. Rob Jack, subscribe. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Took me a while to get unit tests. The book that made me understand their greatness and the flow and the greatness of TDD, hang on, I'll push here, was Test-Driven Development by Example. And for me, the biggest benefit of TDD is that it makes me calm and directed. Write a little bit of tests, like that breaks, test that breaks, and then we write a little bit of code that fixes that test, that goes green, and then we save that change. And we work in these little small blocks, which means that we are eventually end up with very large test suite of hundreds of tests that describe and do automated verification on our code. And it also forces a certain modularization, because you have to break your code out into small separate modules and able to write unit tests for them. So for me, it creates like this very nice step-by-step progression when coding that is very nice to work with. It's also very nice to see, like when you're reviewing code or when you're watching the code of others, if there are unit tests that shows very clearly how a piece of code is intended to be used and what things are intended to work, what cases the programmer has thought of, and more importantly has not thought of, and that's very helpful. So that's a couple of benefits around it. But it's also something that takes requires quite a bit of time from you. It's sort of like static types, really. It adds a lot of infrastructure around your projects and a lot of things that you need to do, so it slows you down quite a bit. So it requires you to have a certain amount of complexity in order for it to be worth it. But for me, like in any kind of professional software that reaches just some minor complexity, I find that it pays off very fast. Okay, so let's have a look again on the in our pull request. I like to do these things. Okay, so error on WebSocket network error. I actually have to go back and see if my sandbox works now. Sandbox is a little thing I tend to use where have some code that runs against real data, some real data. Just like it's kind of like a unit test that I run that tests a small component of the code, but it isn't really a unit test because a unit test is not supposed to have any side effects. Basically, just to try a thing, a part of the code, a module, without actually spinning up all the things in the world. So let's go into backend and then go node, src, modules, token store, Mongo, and sandbox. Ouch! Did not work. Why not? Failed to connect to server, cluster shard. Probably because this connection error here is old. Underscore functions, it's easier to look at the test and say, how is XXX supposed to work than reading through the code itself. It's also very helpful when you're jumping into a code base that you've been lost in, like if you're coming back from vacation, or even if you're just coming back from the day before. It's very easy, a good way of leaving one test broken, because that gives you like an immediate place to start, which is really good. It's kind of like this. For me, it's kind of like a structured to-do list inside of the code, really. Yeah, TDD is very... I find that it just makes me write better code, really. Yeah. Awesome! Cool! Now it works. So now we have tested this token store that this works, that it basically just saves a refresh token and then loads a refresh token. That this failed before because I didn't have those fixes. Effexen says, for me, TDD is not specifically unit testing. For me, TDD, not specifically unit testing, helps to optimize for the interface of the module or class I am creating, as it's likely that it will be consumed far more. So by starting with my specific piece of code from my test, I will ensure it's nice to use. Yeah, it's really nice to, it allows you think a lot more about the module interfaces. I mean, yeah, for me, even if I just threw away all of my unit tests after I've written them, it will still have very good design implications on me. _funk says, here's the big thing, we're all beginners and we're all experts and have value. It all depends on the perspective index. That is so true. It's really nice to recognize the fact that we're all beginners in some sense of the word. And even if we are so easy to fall into this mindset that development is this weird graph where you just become better. You're a junior and then you're senior and then you're celebrity. But it really isn't like that. You go into this graph. At Spotify, I had the great pleasure of teaching Ludwig Gios some basic JavaScript, which is really cool. He was a person that basically wrote Spotify when they were just 2 employees. Really cool. And that's just the thing. Like, we know some things and there's other things we don't know. Now it's a kind of nasty situation here because I want to error on a WebSocket network error. And I don't know how an error will look. So probably I'm gonna have to cut the stream short because I'm gonna need to cut the network in order to simulate this error. But I should find a place where I could at least where the actual error should happen. WebSocket network error. So I'm gonna be switching to front end. See, front end, and I'm gonna open this instead. Wow. And we have these helpers here. Robert Table says, if you're the smartest person in the room, find another room. I do love that. So old jazz variation of the old jazz musician adage. If you're not the worst person in a band, switch bands. Yeah. Fails if socket never opens. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one. Actually do what I said before. I'm gonna leave this test broken here. Leave this test broken here, and I'm gonna go expect false to be true. And start Wallaby. Leave me somewhere to start tomorrow when I come into work. Have tests to write. Just like write a little note for myself here. Investigate what socket error looks like and mock it. Yeah, that's where we're gonna leave it off today. Robert Table says, that's a clever place to leave off. Should be super easy to jump back into it. I use a similar technique to sort of a brain hack. Yeah, isn't it? It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Oh, so how's everyone? Like, are you excited for the week, or is it more of a week where like that's gonna be a tough one? Do you have lots of things to do, or is it gonna be a chill week for you? Edgy says endless changing requirements on a project that I'm supposed to be done with. Yeah, it's I have a girlfriend who has that frustration too, that I've been hearing. It's always good when Isa comes home and like, I'm so angry over this thing, and I know like, yay, this is gonna be I get to hear things about like what it's actually to work in a software company. Like, it's so long since I actually was in a real project. I'm like starved for actual knowledge and actual frustrations. Robert Table says it will be an awesome week if I choose to make it that way. It's a great attitude. HCM Lopez, a lot to do, but all very exciting. Oh, it's so nice that everybody's so excited. That makes me, like, that inspires me. That makes me happy. Slim Edge S, tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. I love it. I love it. That's where we end off. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Robert Tables _Funk Biscuit. It's always so nice to have everyone here. All right. I'm gonna leave you off with that. Have a great week. Thank you so much for starting reality back up with me after Nordic Gas, and it's always so nice hanging out with you guys. Yeah, have a great week.